let's go ahead and hop right into our keynote session with Mr. Adam Welcome. Adam was with us last year. He's back again by popular demand. Adam is the best-selling author and an international keynote speaker. He's an educator, a podcaster, empowering teachers and leaders to be awesome for kids. Adam was named a 20 to watch with the National School Board Association and a Principal of the Year in his region in California. Adam empowers teachers to put kids first. He is also the co-founder of Kids Deserve It and the author of 4 books, Kids Deserve It, Run Like a Pirate, Empower Our Girls, and Teachers Deserve It. Adam, it is so good to have you back with us.
What is
Adam's
up, Brian? And everybody, let me hide my my video panels.
Yep, there's always a little adjustments.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Brian?
Yep.
Can everybody hear me?
Yep, you hear great.
What's up? You can hear me, you can see me. It's so great to be back. I got my TCI swag this year, super comfy polo shirt to wear for today. Thank you for having me back. I love seeing all the people in the chat, people that live like 5 minutes from where I live. I live in Northern California. I'm actually in Southern California right now. I'm in Riverside. If anybody's in Riverside, the Ontario area, put it in the chat. I'm actually working with all the leadership from Riverside USD. I see Boston in the chat. I just flew from Boston last night, so it's so great to see everybody. If you were at the summit last year, just put in the chat or do like a little thumbs up in the chat. I'm gonna have some like similar themes, but take it in a different way because you're in a different place and your school and the world and education is in a different place, and it's kind of thinking about it in a different way. And the title of my talk today is "The Time Is Now," because the time, I think, is now for everything. To do the new thing, to build stronger relationships, to be more collaborative, to be more communicative, to take more risks, because it's 2023 and our kids are depending on us. Now, I'm in 15 states this summer. I'm all over the country, working with school districts, doing conferences, and people always ask me one question. They say, Adam, what is the next big thing? They say, what is it? What curriculum? What is it? Is it the Chromebook? Is it the iPad? Is it a new smart board? Is it a new robot? What is it? What is the next big thing? And I always tell people, the next thing has always been the thing.
You did it.
Why don't we have that kind of relationship?
That's from the movie Jerry Maguire. And I always tell people the next thing that's always been the thing is relationships, relationships, relationships. We can have all the technology, all the curriculum. And as you know, when you build those strong relationships with your students, you can go so much farther, so much faster. Put it in the chat right now. What is your favorite way to build relationships with your students? It could be having a unique handshake with everybody. It could be maybe making a phone call home before the school year starts to connect with the students or to connect with parents. Put it in the chat right now. Let's get the chat going. What is your favorite way to build relationships with your students? Now, this is me as, I don't know, I was like 24. So this was 20 years ago when I was a teacher. I had a 4-5 combination class. So I was that teacher that raised my hand at a staff meeting. We were at a staff meeting at the end of the year, and our principal said, hey, we're gonna have a combo class next year. Who wants to teach the combo class? And I raised my hand right away because there was a student that was in the class next to me when I was teaching 3rd grade who his teacher used to put his desk outside in the hallway. And living in California, we have like outdoor schools. We don't have like the indoor schools like the Midwest or the East Coast because we don't have the weather that you all have. You know what I'm talking about. And she would put a desk outside, and it used to drive me nuts because this kid was a great kid. I didn't know him really, really well, but I knew him well enough. And I raised my hand and said, I'll do the combination class. And as you know, every other teacher on our staff was like, thank you, Adam, because most people don't want to do the combination class. But I had one reason why I wanted to do the combination class. After the staff meeting was over, I went right to my principal's office and I said, I will do that combination class if I can have that student in my class. I want that student because I didn't like how my colleague treated that student. She was mean to him. She talked down to him. She put his desk outside in the hallway. I regret that I didn't speak up back then, 24-year-old Adam, to my colleague or to my principal. So the next year starts. I have a combination class. He's in my class. And this is a reminder to not always listen to what the people that you work with, who the teacher had last year about those kids, because it's up to you to build a relationship, to build a new relationship with the students that you have in your class. And it's all the perspective of how you look at the students in your class. This kid was absolutely awesome. He was the best. He worked hard. He was funny. He made friends. I sent the report card home, the first trimester report card, and he did great. We have like a standard-based report card system, 1 through 4. He got 3s and 4s. I had looked back on his old report card. He'd always gotten 1s, 2s, never a 3 or 4, which didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense to me because this kid was crushing it in class. He was awesome. 30 minutes after school was over and I had sent the report cards home, his mom walks into my classroom with a bottle of wine and the report card, and she said he never had a report card like this before. And that's the reminder that these kids, there he is as a kid, and there he is as an adult. They have capacity and they have amazingness inside of them. And it's our job to build those relationships with all students, not just the ones that are easy in class, all students. I went to his Eagle Scout coordination. He became an Eagle Scout. He went to college. He graduated from the Maritime Academy up in Northern California. He works on those big old container ships, go all over the world. He's an engineer. Put it in the chat, your favorite way to build relationships with kids. We need to get that chat going because we don't know the full capacity of kids until we build those strong relationships. You're going to implement TCI this year, science, social studies. You're going to have a new math program. You're going to do new technology things. You're going to do many things. But when you have strong relationships with all of your students, you can go so much farther, so much wider, so much deeper, and have so much more fun with them. Relationships. Now, if you were with us last year, I recommended some books to you. I've already read, I think, 62 books this calendar year. Well, I have a few more. I love this book. It's called Make Your Bed. It's by Admiral William McCraven. He was a Navy SEAL for like 35 years. He gave the commencement speech at the University of Texas. Shout out everybody from Texas that's on here right now. And the title of the speech was 10 Ways to Have a Better Life. One of those ways was to wake up and make your bed. Because no matter what kind of day you have, you get home and you get into a bed that's made, it just feels good. Super easy chapters to read, really good ideas you could talk about with your students, talk about with your grade level, with your department, with the people in your life. Really, really great book. This next book, absolutely amazing. The Book Women of Troublesome Creek, Kim Richardson. So this is a historical fiction. In the early 30s, Eleanor Roosevelt started a literacy program in Appalachia, Kentucky, Tennessee, where women would get on horses and deliver books to people that didn't have access to them, going up in the mountains where there were no roads. Amazing story about literacy, about tenacity, about building relationships. And when you want to learn and people want to learn and spread all of these amazing things, you can do it. The sequel came out, The Book Woman's Daughter. I just read it too. So there's 3 books. It was supposed to be 4, but it's supposed to be 3. I'm going to give you 4. This next book, my favorite book of the last 10 years. If you've read Where the Crawdads Sing, put it in the chat. I was flying from San Francisco to Boston. I did not get up the entire flight, and I read the book cover to cover. I love the story, but if you've read the book, you know what I'm talking about. Every student, just like Max, the student that I had in my combination class, has capacity inside of them. Get to know them, build a relationship with them, because when you do, you can help them realize their full potential as a human being. Don't judge or stereotype what you hear or what you've heard about them. Absolutely love this book. If you have a book recommendation for me or for everybody on the webinar today, put it in the chat, because literacy changes people's lives. Teachers, it's easy to see a yellow car when you are looking for a yellow car. You're going to start seeing yellow cars everywhere you go. They're out there when you drive. You just don't see them because you're not thinking about them. It's easy to see an opportunity when you are always thinking of opportunity. It's easy to see kids being successful when we are thinking about their success. We become what we think about and what we look for. I think everything is contagious. Success is contagious. Negativity is contagious. Project-based learning is contagious. Trying something new is contagious. Building stronger relationships with kids is contagious. It is up to us on our mindset and how we are going to start the year. And Brian's right. Some people are starting this week. Some people are starting after Labor Day. It doesn't cost any money to think about your mindset and to think about what you want to do this school year with your students, with your colleagues, and with the community. Okay, let's get into some content. If Alexa or Google can answer the questions we're asking our students, we need to be asking them different questions. Now, I think the most common question that Google can answer is those really low-level depth of knowledge, 0, maybe 1 questions. Like if you ask Google, what's the capital, and you say your state. So what's the capital of California? Alexa will tell you it's Sacramento. Sacramento is the capital of California. Jefferson City, Missouri. Boston, Massachusetts. Atlanta, Georgia. Because that's the depth of knowledge question, 0 or 1, memorization, regurgitation. But if you say, Alexa, Sacramento is the capital of California, can you give me 3 reasons why? Alexa cannot answer that question, because that's a depth of knowledge question, 2, 3, maybe 4. What do you got to do? You got to get a map out. You got to look at a map. Why is Sacramento? You know what? The river going through Sacramento. I wonder if that has any significance. Jefferson City, Missouri has a river going through that. I wonder if there's any significance. Kids have to do some research. Now, I know that you have state assessments that your state tells you here's what you need to do, but your assessments, take the TCI assessments, how can we layer them and make them more complex? Now, this is my daughter. She's going to be in 7th grade next year, and our dog, this is our golden retriever. His name is Blue. If you have a dog in your life, just put the kind of dog that you have and the name of your dog, because I think dogs just make life better. I was in Boston 2 days ago, and I went to a school, and they had a therapy dog. They had a golden retriever therapy dog. A lot of schools are getting therapy dogs. There's a lot of programs you can actually get therapy dogs donated to your school. It's really awesome. 5th grade, my daughter's teacher had the class do something that I think is a complete waste of time. She had all the students memorize all 50 states and capitals. I think that doesn't have a place in what we want kids to do. I told my daughter, Greta, don't do it. She looks at me like, what are you talking about, Dad? My wife goes, don't listen to your dad. Yes, you're doing the states and capitals. So she memorized all 50 states and capitals. She's got note cards. It's 2023, and we have index cards, and we're writing down. And she's memorized. She spent hours and hours memorizing flashcards for the capitals. I thought it was a waste of time, but I'm patient. In October, she had a quiz. She got all 50 right. You know the song, Alabama, Arizona, Arkansas, Alaska, whatever. She got 100%. Good for you. I'm patient. In May, I said, okay, Greta, pop quiz. How many state capitals do you remember from just a few months ago? She remembered 14. Memorization and regurgitation is not a skill that is needed. We need kids to do project-based learning. We need kids to present their learning in a group, by themselves, partner share, all the strategies that are embedded in the TCI curriculum that you can take into any other subject matter. That is what we need our kids to do. Okay, now juxtapose this. Memorizing states and capitals by looking at a map like this, and the story that I'm about to tell you about my daughter. So we put my kids in Spanish when they were in first grade. We wanted our kids to learn Spanish. My daughter, who's 12, has taken the bull by the horns. And where we live, sixth grade does not have a Spanish or a language offering. So she tested out of Spanish 1 into Spanish 2 for 7th grade. So next year when school starts in a few weeks, she's going to be with 8th graders because she has had a tutor, she's done Babbel, she's done all the different Spanish stuff. It's awesome. So I was at the library looking for books, and I saw a book that was in Spanish. It was under my daughter's reading level, but I checked it out. I get home, I said, hey, Greta, hey, I got this book in Spanish. Maybe you can read it and translate. Her eyeballs went big like this. So we're already going deeper with the content and with the curriculum. My daughter's also got an Apple Watch. She changed her Apple Watch to only understand Spanish. She did it all on her own. It was not my idea. It wasn't my wife's idea. We didn't tell her, show her how to do it. We have to give kids the tools and the permission to go and do amazing things with what they are learning about. 2 weeks ago, I walk in my daughter's room. She has her Spanish, her Apple Watch, which only understands Spanish. English is her first language. She's reading the book into her watch, translating it through her watch. There's a notebook next to her, writing down the words that she doesn't know. Now, I'll just tell you those two stories, memorizing states and capitals with index cards, and then my daughter on her own translating, transcribing, and learning. The point of the story is, I think that we are just, so many of our kids can do so many things, and we're just not even pushing them to their capacity, because I feel we need to let go of so many things. Teachers, you are important. You are more important than ever. I think you're important in different ways. 20 years ago, you needed to be the expert with the watch. Didn't even have an Apple Watch 20 years ago. The watch and the translation. How can you go and see what kids can really do so they can take their learning to new levels that we didn't even know they could do? Every lesson has a purpose. Again, I just ask, what is the purpose of memorizing states and capitals if they can't even retain that information a few months later? What is the purpose of every lesson and every decision that you do? I think it's a really, really important question. Allow kids to create and not just consume. Flashcards, consumption, all those different layers, that is creation. Now, I know you have all of those group work assignments in TCI. You get trained on, they're embedded, kids are learning, they're partner sharing, their group work, and then what are they doing? They're presenting to the class. There are so many layers to that. So as you are getting ready for the school year, okay, as you're planning lessons, as you are in the lesson, some of the best lessons that I've ever done, I've ever seen, the idea came to me as I'm watching my class and say, you know what? We can do this a different way. Are kids consuming and regurgitating? Or are they creating and presenting? Now, I think every school needs a 3D printer. Last year, if you were with us, I talked about robots, I talked about coding, still really big fan of those. 3D printing is in its golden hour right now. There are so many ways you can integrate 3D printing into science, social studies, language arts, math. There was an article recently about 3D printing. So this is getting kids ready for jobs of not even the future, jobs of right now. Who remembers 15 years ago, people would say, our kids are going to have jobs that haven't even been created yet. Our kids are going to have jobs. Those jobs are actually old. It's all these new jobs. Article recently talking about how 3D printing is changed from, printing phone cases, earrings to really big industrial. You can get a boat 3D printed, prosthetics for humans, for animals. You can get a house printed in 24 hours for $10,000. In my last district of Northern California, I was a director of innovation. I had 7 instructional coaches on my team. One of my coaches had a cousin in Montana. It gets cold in Montana. Her cousin has chickens. One of the chickens' foot froze off, which was horrible. I don't know. I guess it happens where it gets really cold. I've never heard that before. But the cousin was telling Megan, my instructional coach, about what happened. And Megan said, you know what? Take a picture, send me some dimensions, and let me see what I can do. We took that picture to a middle school class. Middle school social studies teachers, raise your hand in the chat. Give us a shout out. What's up? Raise your hand. I see Ann Zareski right now. Just raise their hand. And what? Oh my God, 16, 17, 18. Look at all the hands being raised. 22. I love it. 25, 28. 40. Oh my gosh, middle school social studies is in the house today, PCI. We took that picture to a social studies class in a middle school. We didn't even talk to the teacher. We went right to some students who we had done some 3D printing with before, and we told the kids what was going on. They look at the picture and they said, come back in 2 days. We went back 2 days later. They had designed and printed on their own prosthetics for that rooster. Now, it was like 5 years ago. 5 years ago. Teachers, you're important. You're more important than ever. I think you're important in different ways. You don't need to be the expert. You need to give kids permission to do these things with the curriculum. Take the hardest lesson that you have to teach, social studies, science, math, language arts, whatever it is. How can you incorporate some 3D printing? Has anybody done 3D printing in their school or their classroom? Put it in the chat. Put what you've done, any resources maybe, link them. I was working with a 3rd grade class. They were reading Charlotte's Web, and I was walking around. I could tell a lot of the kids really weren't super excited about the Charlotte's Web lesson. So I asked the teacher, I said, can we have the kids create a pig in 3D design software? And she said, okay. I said, okay, kids, put your books away. Go get your Chromebooks. Tinkercad.com. Can somebody put this in the chat for me? Tinkercad.com. The parent company of Tinkercad is Autodesk, really massive company. Tinkercad is free. You don't need to know how to do it with kids. It's kind of like coding. You open the door and kids learn how to do it. I said, okay, kids, I'll be back in a couple days. Create a pig, figure it out. I'll come back and we'll print one of the pigs. I went back a couple days later. All the kids pulled up their pig up on the screen. They voted, and then they printed one pig. These kids were carrying this pig around like it was a brick of gold. The teacher told me, now this is the magic right here. The teacher told me there were kids that were reading ahead in the book, hadn't even been participating in small group discussion because we brought some relevant job that is happening right now, a job of not even the future, a job of right now, into a language arts lesson, into a science, social studies lesson. Tinkercad.com. The number of jobs out there in 3D printing is absolutely massive. The market for 3D printing is expected to triple to $45 billion worldwide within a couple of years. Now, when I see a number that big with a B next to it, JOBS, opportunities. Here's an idea of how to get started. Take the hardest lesson that you have to teach. Maybe it's Charlotte's Web. Maybe it's whatever social studies. Maybe it's states and capitals or California people. I know the most people that should be here are from California. I looked at the map. We have so many states represented, TCI in the house across the country. Maybe it's it's California missions. Maybe you teach 4th grade, social studies, whatever it is. How can you incorporate some relevant technology to raise the engagement factor with your students, but also get them ready for a job that is right now in 2023. I talked about robots last year. Very, very staggering. Walmart plans to have almost 65% of its stores automated by 2026. I talked about robots last year, even more now than ever. Walmart, Amazon, FedEx, you name it, they are absolutely everywhere. If you were with me last year, I talked about Spheros. I would say even more so now. Take the lesson, and maybe not for every student, but maybe a student that is not just grasping the concept. You need to add a little engagement factor, a little bit of hands-on for the kid. This is free and it's simple. Do it by yourself, do it with your grade level, do it with your department, do it with your principal and your leadership team. Go to LinkedIn, it's free, and just search programming, coding, robotics, AI, 3D printing, podcast. The number of jobs out there is absolutely staggering. These are those new collar jobs. I talked about new collar jobs last year that we were together, even more so now. And it's not even necessarily the job, but look at the skills that these companies want. They want problem solvers. They want people to be able to present, communicate, collaborate, all the skills that are embedded in TCI, embedded in what we should be doing in our classrooms. Those skills translate to the world new collar job. we can't get our students ready for every job that is going to be created now or in the future, but we can give them the skills to be able to get ready for whatever job they will have when they are ready to enter the workforce. Really, really simple, easy thing to do. It's going to open eyes. Have your director of curriculum, have your superintendent maybe do this with you, or do it and say, hey, these are some things that we need to embed. How can we increase the engagement factor for our students? Now, this is just a reminder, your first 3D print that you do, it may not be very good. And that's okay. Your first robot lesson may not be very good. Your first video you create may not be very good. Your first podcast may not be very good. Your first time trying that new thing will probably not be very good. But that's how you get better. Most things never get done because they don't get started. You can't get to where you want to go or where you don't even know you want to go unless you get started. You get better by trying and failing and innovating, trying again. Take 15 seconds. I want everyone, all hundreds of you, to go in the chat. What is something that you want to try this school year? With your science TCI, with your social studies TCI, maybe you're going to join language arts with a social studies lesson. Maybe you're going to take some math with a science lesson and do some project-based learning. Put in the chat right now. I'm going to give you 10 to 15 seconds to put what is one thing you want to try this school year. Go ahead, put it in the chat. I think when we make things public to this TCI community all over the world, all over the country, I think it helps to make it real. Like, yeah, like I'm doing this. Like I'm running this marathon. I'm going on that adventure. I'm gonna try this lesson in my class. I'm nervous. Y'all ever get that little feeling in your tummy when you try something new, personal or professional? Little feeling of like, I'm not sure. I've never done this before. I don't know what the outcome is going to be. Yes, to me, that feeling is excitement about what our students are about to discover and uncover in their learning process. Please try, fail, innovate, and then try again. I know you can do it. Create something now. You can always make it better down the road. It's not going to be perfect the first time. I saw a quote from Usain Bolt. He was like the fastest human in the world. And he said, you know, people watch me run for 10 seconds. They don't see the 6 years of training to get to that point. And it's not a perfect analogy, but you get there by doing this. And you know, the road's not straight. The road is so much like this. Create something now. Think about it now. Plan it now. Collaborate now as you go down the road. And it doesn't take very long. It doesn't take 3 years. It doesn't take 6 months. It can take 2 days, or it can take 2 periods to feel like, I like this. I'm going to change my lesson. I'm going to change my approach. I'm going to engage my students in a different way because it is 2023 and we have to get them ready for the world they are growing up in. And this is a reminder that kids don't need a 4.0 GPA to be successful. This is nothing against a GPA, nothing against the GPA. All I'm saying is the world has changed. I'm not bragging. I'm just making a declarative statement. I had a 2.6 GPA when I graduated from high school, and I'm a successful human being. Even more so with these new collar jobs and all the opportunities, they need kids to be able to problem solve and collaborate and communicate, to be creative, to be innovative. And college is a business, and they force schools and kids to take AP classes and get the GPA. I'm not saying that's bad or it's wrong, but it's not for all of our kids. When you teach kids that they can learn on their own and they can be creative, to be innovative, that to me is the magic sauce.
Oh, look at this guy. Hey, Rachel, how are you?
Hey, good. How are you?
He's not getting that car in there.
No, sir.
Look at these two troublemakers.
Hey, Johnny, how are you?
Wicked car. Is that new?
Yeah, it's a Sonata. Let me pack it.
Oh, you're not fitting your car in there.
Chris, stop being a smarty pants, all right? Look who's got Smart Pack.
Smart pack?
Just hit the clicker. Car packs itself.
It's smart.
It's wicked smart. And I can pack it anywhere.
How about Dorchester?
Packed it.
Foxborough.
Packed it.
The garden?
Packed it.
Saugus.
Packed it.
Swampscott?
Revere.
The harbor?
Are you kidding me? I packed it and then unpacked it.
You unparked it?
Kid.
Game changer.
That Sonata ain't got no driver.
That's all right. He's got smart pack.
Hey, you can back there.
He's got Smart pack!
Hey, whoa, it's Big Poppy.
Wicked smart.
This is a ghost car.
I love that commercial. I was in Massachusetts 2 days ago. And I showed that commercial, and it totally resonated because of the voices and the Boston accent. I don't drive a Hyundai, but I showed you this right here. New habits can form fast. What change are you going to make? Most things never get done because they don't get started, or most things never get done because they're too complicated. They went from telling that person, no, stop, it's not going to work, your car's not going to fit. He showed them it was simple, it made sense. They were then, within 15 seconds, advocating on his behalf, telling everybody around them why it would work. Things happen fast when they're good for kids. We need to make decisions faster. We need to make change faster. Our kids are depending on us. What change are you going to make? The best way to mess up a really good idea is to complicate it. I like one-page ideas. Don't do a 20-page report. Don't do a 35-slide presentation. No committees. Get kids started. Keep it simple and start moving forward. Now, these are my top educational ideas, just things that I think are good for all educators, no matter what you do, where you live, what state you're in, how big or small your district is. I think the first one is really, really important. I always urge people to do as little as possible. Now, I know you have a job and you have to do your job, and we want you to do your job well. What this means is, as you are approaching the school year, as you're in this school year, think to yourself and say, you know what, should I be doing this? Or can somebody else be doing this? And that somebody else could be a colleague. It could be a student. It could be a helicopter parent. I'm sure you have helicopter parents where you are. Helicopter parents is just changing the perspective on that parent. But if you give them a job and they know they are supporting the classroom and your program and your department, they're going to look at it in a different way. And the last one is, should nobody be doing this? How many things are we doing that we should not be doing, that are left over from somebody that retired 10 years ago, or it's part of a program or a curriculum that is just not relevant anymore? Do as little as possible. I think this one is really powerful. I know there's a lot of text. I think it's important. Make fewer decisions for the next few days and see how many of those decisions you didn't need to make in the first place. If someone else around you, a student, makes that decision, that's a good thing for your organization. I love to strategically ignore people at times, my kids, because I want them to figure out. I want them to make the decision. When I was a principal, I would strategically, if it's an emergency, obviously don't do this, but strategically ignore a staff member or a student. But when I was a teacher, kids can figure out how to do it. But if we're always making the decisions for them, if we're in there showing them, telling them, this is how you do it, they're never going to build that capacity. It's kind of like parenting. If you have kids, you know what I'm talking about. My wife and I, we want our kids to hang out with us when they're 25, but we want them to not need us. We want to build their capacity. So strategically, see how you can do less. You're the expert in kids, curriculum, and relationships. How can you build all those little experts in your class, in your grade level, in your department, in your division, in your school, so they can get more done? Because then it gives you more time, and you're probably going to have more fun too if you're not making all decisions. Find a professional friend. This is like the also known as get a mentor. And if you were like when you were a new teacher, you probably had a mentor. But I just see people, they fall off and they don't continue that in their career. I like to say, find a professional friend, somebody in the TCI community. I mean, there are hundreds of you out there right now. Find the person, connect with them, build that relationship across district, across state, across lines. Connect with them. California, Texas, New York, Jersey, wherever it is. There's a whole bunch of people from Illinois on the webinar today. What's up, people from Illinois. I hear you. I see you. I saw somebody from Arlington Heights when we were doing the chat. You got to find a professional friend. Don't be on an island in 2023. Don't be on an island. You got to have a professional friend. So I don't like the word balance. I like to approach it from the standpoint of barriers. If you think about balance, people talk about self-care. Obviously, it's super important, but people talk about balance a lot. And if you're trying to balance things, I think you're always up, down, you're always trying to do something. But if you put up a barrier in your life, you don't let things in. Say, no, I'm not allowing that. I'm not putting Wi-Fi. I'm not putting email on my phone. I don't want that coming into my life. Like my wife is a book club dropout. She has joined so many book clubs that she doesn't have time for. A couple years ago, she was like, hey, honey. And I was like, yeah. My wife, she doesn't talk like that. I was like, what's up? And she's like, have you read this book? Because she knows I read a lot. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, wait a minute. You have book club tomorrow night and you haven't read that book and you're trying to pump me information. I said, Stacy, drop the book club. That is an example of putting up a barrier. If balance is trying to figure it out, skimming the book, being frazzled, not really know what's going on, rushing to the book club, being there, kind of, not totally there, put up a barrier. Balance works for some people. For me, I like barriers. Sometimes the solution to whatever you have going on is to simply let it go. If you can't control it, you have no control over the situation or what happens, stop worrying about it, stop stressing about it, stop fighting over it, and simply let it go. You're going to feel so much better, happier, relaxed in whatever you are doing. Don't overthink it. I also think we shouldn't overplan it. Most things never get done because they don't get started because they're too complicated. We go into a conference room somewhere, we got like 5 different color expo markers, we got a big old whiteboard, people are writing on ideas, do this, do that, do this, do that. And then it's too complicated, we don't know where to start. So don't overplan it. So what I like to do when I have a new idea is I just get a Post-it note and I write my new idea and I write the 3 steps to start my implementation plan on the Post-it note, because that is doable. I can get that done. It's like going from home plate to first base. You're not done once you accomplish the Post-it note. Get another Post-it note and layer it on the bottom. You know what? Maybe you're new to TCI. Maybe you're changing grade levels or department or whatever. Oh my gosh, it's a little overwhelming. How do I get started? You know what? Think big, act small. Think about the Post-it note. You can't burn out. The attainable has to be sustainable. Thinking small on a Post-it level basis, it helps you build that over time so you can implement, so you can be happy and healthy, personal and professional. Good for you if this is your house. We have a TMI problem in education, too many initiatives. I work with school districts that have 25 strategic goals. I don't know how you can be strategic about 25 things. So whatever you do, you have a lot of control over what you do in your classroom. Some things, your district obviously tells you this is the curriculum, these are the programs, this is what we're going to do. But I encourage you to not live in a house this big, because it's so big. There's rooms in this house that the people that own it probably haven't been in years. So instead, think about this as your classroom or a tiny house, because this little cool retro trailer, these people, they're living lighter, they're probably living happier. They have exactly what they need. They know where everything is, and they're doing it with fidelity. Do 3 to 5 things with fidelity and not 20 to 25 with mediocrity. Remember that project-based learning. How can you bring things together in your classroom, in your department? How can you let go, let your kids take it, open a door, open a door, open a door, create an opportunity for them with the curriculum and with their learning. I love this image from Will Santino because I think it's so important to think about. People say, you want lemons? Great, make lemonade. Until you have too many lemons and you can't make lemonade anymore. So the reminder with this image is, say yes to lemons, then when you have enough, say no. And in my experience in working with hundreds of school districts across the country, educators on the whole have a hard time saying no. You're not going to hurt somebody's feelings. You're just being honest. When you've had enough, say no. And then when you feel good again, say, okay, we'll take some more lemons, because you can't get burned out. I want to be remembered as a hard worker and not a workaholic. If you try to squeeze all those lemons, you're going to be there all night on the weekends, and that is not okay. Now, it's a new gig. I think pre-COVID, it was a new gig. Post-COVID, education, life is a new gig. Now, this is not a new thing. This is called the Eisenhower Index, but it works. As you are making decisions this school year, take a picture of this if you want, whatever. Use this to make decisions. If something is important and it's urgent, do it right now. Student safety, oh, I gotta get this done. Yes, do it right now. If it's important and it's not urgent, plan it. An example of that is maybe it's Monday and you get an email and it's not super urgent and you're busy, you don't have a prep on Monday, but maybe your prep is on Wednesday. Pull that email to your Wednesday folder and answer that email on Wednesday. It can wait. If you don't answer it right now because it's not urgent, plan it. If something's not important and it's urgent, delegate. That's where the doing as little as possible. Can I delegate or collaborate with a colleague, with a student, with a helicopter parent? Whatever it is, it's you not making every decision all the time. It's using your ecosystem to help delegate, to help get things done for your classroom and your department. If it's not important, it's not urgent, drop it. I think this is the most important one because so many people still to this day are trying to do everything all the time, and that is not sustainable. It's not feasible. I don't think we can continue on that pace. Not important and it's not urgent, drop it. Where do things go in the index? I use this in my life at home when I'm making a decision. When my wife and I are making a decision with a sport or an activity for our kids or my work or business, friends, like, gosh, I can't do that. You know what? I'm going to drop that. Like my wife's book club. It was important, but it wasn't urgent. We actually put it in the drop. I said, Stacy, drop the book club. So where do things fit in? You got to be able to plan well so you are happy and you are healthy and you go deep and wide and far with the curriculum. Now, every problem has a solution, but I think so often we get these problems. So, oh, this is a problem. This is really bad. And we try to fix the problem. How we know how we've done it historically until we have a bigger problem. My friends, what happens so often when we have a problem? We try to solve the problem the same way in a bigger way. If you try to solve your problems the same way, you're going to get the same outcome. That is the definition of insanity. You're going to get this. And this is not good. This is burnout. This is stressed out. This is, I can't get everything done. If you want a different outcome, we have to change the process. If something's not working, stop. Stop. Pause. Stop. Look around. Work with your colleagues. Work with your professional friend that you've met through TCI from all over the country. And be like, what are you doing? How are you solving this problem? I need a different process because this is not working. For an assessment, for a lesson, for grading, for planning, whatever it is, whatever you want to do, somebody else somewhere else has already figured out a way to do it. Use the community together to solve the problem. Because if we want a different outcome, we have to change the process. Now, this is Delia Owens, and she's the author of my favorite book of the last 10 years, Where the Crawdads Sing. If you haven't put a book recommendation in the chat yet, put it in the chat. It's not too late. And she wrote this book, her first novel, when she was 70 years old. Her first novel at 70 years old. 70 years old. Now, her publisher, the first year it came out, they printed 28,000 copies, which is not that many copies for a hardback major publisher. The first year the book came out, they sold 3 million. To date, they've sold over 15 million copies of that book and a made motion picture. I tell you that not to sell you the book, but to tell you it is not too late. You're not too old. You're not too this. You're not too new. Whatever. At 70 years old, she wrote a book that has sold 15 million copies in her first book. You can do it too.
Let's do it. Woohoo! Ski day alpine.
Woohoo! 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 I'm skiing! I'm skiing! I'm skiing!
Just a young gun with a quick fuse. I was uptight, wanna let loose. I was dreaming of bigger things and wanna leave my old life behind.
He's constantly confusing, confounding the British henchmen. Everyone give it up for America's favorite fighting Frenchman!
I'm taking this horseman reigns, making red coats weather with blood stains. And I'm never gonna stop until I make them drop, burn them up and scatter the remains down. Watch me engaging them, escaping them, and raising them out. I go to France for more fun. I come back with more guns. So he knows what to do in the trench, ingenuity and fluent in French, I mean. So you're gonna have to use him eventually. What's he gonna do in the bench, I mean? No one has my resilience or matches my practical.
But I'm thinking it's time to go.
Here we go.
So put your best face on, everybody pretend you know.
10 seconds to 10.
Baby bet, ayy, couple racks, ayy, couple Grammys on him, couple blacks, ayy, that's a fact, ayy, throw it back, ayy, throw it back, ayy, and this one is for the champion. Ain't lost since I began, funny how you said it was the end, then I went did it again.
My son, he is 10 years old. Obviously, we like to ski as a family. This picture right here is a double black in Snowbird in Utah. I showed you that video because it's a reminder of where you start is not where you end up. What you didn't see before the first video or in between was that, Mom and Dad, I can't do it. I don't want to. I'm scared. I'm nervous. This is not going to go well. But when you have a team of people, colleagues, students, community, your professional friends from all over the country, and you are working with them, you can do amazing things. Where you start is not where you end up. It's not. You got to believe. You got to see where you want to go and build that plan. Make a plan professionally, personally, with your students. Get started now. There is a road out there in your classroom that is amazing and that is awesome. I believe in you. I hope and I want you to believe in yourself. Whatever you're doing, first week of school, the third month of school, in May, the last few weeks, be amazing for kids and let's let them maximize their full potential as human beings. Keep crushing. You got this. I believe in you. I got a lot of emails last year from people or messages, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, the new Facebook thing, like Twitter Threads, I don't know. Everybody that reaches out to me, I get back to with a response or an idea. TCI, I thank you so very much for having me back again this year. I am gonna hang on. The number of chats in or messages in the chat I remember last year was so many. Ginger hated skiing until she learned how to do it. Everybody, thank you for the book recommendations. Thank you for all that you do. I hope you have an absolutely amazing school year, and I hope you have an amazing day with the Back to School TCI conference. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
My gosh, thank you, Adam. You have inspired me to maybe pick up skiing once more. Your son has.
Ryan.
Yeah, I've accidentally jumped down the hill that way, but I've never done it purposefully before. But wow, so empowering, and the teachers really enjoyed that. Thank you.